Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. So it's been a big week. We finally got a story trailer for Valhalla, which was immense, and we've also got some juicy information from Darby McDevitt in a recent interview. So in this episode, we're going to be running down some information from the story and two key factors from Darby's interview. But we are not alone. We are joined by a recurring guest of mine and a fellow friend and partner, Arsh from Creed Landmarks.
Hello, everyone. Very glad to be here to talk about the story trailer.
And I keep butchering the name in my scripts. It's
Arsh.
AC Landmarks, not Creed Landmarks. It's your Twitter handle.
Yeah, it's very weird. I want to change it to AC Landmarks, like the Twitter handle to AC Landmarks. But it's still stuck in Creed Landmarks. I don't know how to change it, but if you guys do, hit me up. But if you Google AC Landmarks, it's the first thing that comes up, and I'm very proud of that.
So if we want to follow you like a stalker, just Google.
Yep,
So
exactly.
let's jump into the story trailer. This was an immense story trailer, and I think we'll start from the beginning, but one of the first things we see is Eivor greeting Sigrid at his settlement, which I know there's a lot of theories about how Eivor is canon for both genders, but one theory floated around for a little bit was Sigrid and Eivor were practically the same person in how Odyssey did Alexios and Cassandra. But it seems that theory's now been ruled out.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it means Eivor being canon male and female is down to one cause, which makes it a lot easier to understand than the twin DNA thingy-mabobby. And if we're talking about mind-blowing stuff from the start, assassins, we finally see them. Or the hidden ones, as they should be called.
Or hashtag long live Bassam.
Oh god. I don't see what everyone's fascination about Basim, but it's good to see Basim, and I'll let you all in a secret. I've paused Basim scene about 16 times now to make sure he was missing a ring finger from a hidden blade. I know it's daft. I wanted to make sure they got all the little details in.
Yeah. I just want to give major creds to I feel like Darby who like named Bassam, because like Bassam is such an awesome name in like the Arabic culture. It you know it's a person who like smiles a lot, and I just love Bassam's smile, and hopefully he's a really great character.
I still believe Basim's going to turn out to be a bad guy. Don't trust him.
Yeah. Well, I think we all saw the judgmental look he gave when the gift exchange happened.
Which Darby did say in the interview that the gift exchange is customary, and I think the reason why Basim was a bit miffed by it, like, what are you doing, is the hidden blade represents a lot of things for the Brotherhood, but just to give it out to someone just out of trust is a bit against the creed, because this guy hasn't followed the tenets. He hasn't agreed to stay the blade from the innocent, hide in plain sight. He's just an outsider who doesn't deserve the blade. So I think that's why Basim's a bit like, can you not please touch it?
Right. And plus, like, I feel like Sigurd is, like Darby mentions him, he's very charismatic, and I feel like he has a big ego on him. And you can just see it being developed in that scene, like, oh, I'm gonna give you this gift, um and the assassins are just gonna look weirdly at the screen.
Uh, I think it was. I think it's very cool to see how it's going to be cool to see how the assassins are going to have to learn to live with the customs of the Vikings because Darby has said some ages ago that they're not going down the Hollywood route where Vikings are big barbaric barbarians. They're going down that grounded historical way where they were traders, they were farmers, they were explorers. They did do a lot of pillaging, yes, but they mainly just settled and they just explored the world. And it's going to be cool to see how they try and balance that with how the assassins are, the ones who stay in the shadows, the ones who really don't interfere too much without breaking the what's the word? Shadows? You know what I mean? Hiding in plain sight, that's the word I was trying to get out. Without putting themselves into the limelight, they want to work in the shadows. And assassins, I mean Vikings don't work in the shadows, so how's that going to play out?
Yeah, it's a very stark contrast. Like you got people that are extremely silent and very diligent in their work, and then you have um like, well, marauders that are very like straightforward, and they will just march head on and pillage. So how do you find the balance between that is the
Um,
question.
and I think there's going to be a good answer. And I think the best way to always look at it would be heads and tails, a coin. There's always going to be the Vikings that go out and strive for peace and blend in, and it looks like Eivor in a lot of the social stuff is trying to blend in. You know, he accepts the customs of the hood. He works at stations by kneading bread in one of the old trailers. So it seems that Eivor is the kind of let's settle, and I think in the first trailer he stops um, his attackers, his raiding party from hurting an innocent woman and child and let them go. So it
Yeah.
seems maybe Eivor's mentality is to be peaceful, to try and live a life, whereas the assassins are also that similar mindset. They just want to fight for freedom, but not for pain and glory. But I think Sigrid, he might be more about the guns blazing, let's just take territory what's ours, and maybe that's where this friction is going to come in.
Yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like Eivor is going to be very level-headed, whereas Sigurd is going to be the hothead. No pun intended, because, like, he's a redhead. Uh but yeah, like, uh I feel like Eivor is gonna go more on the assassin path. And I mean, I don't know if you saw the uh the Templar crest. It's not a Templar crest. It has the cross on Sigurd's thing, like, outfit. There's like a crest of like a cross, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, is Sigurd a Templar, or in the Order of Ancients, or something?" But I feel like no, because he'll be wearing that before uh, they go on pillaging England. But very, very curious, because yeah, I I feel like there's going to be a major rivalry between uh siblings. And I mean, it's it's a Norse uh saga, is what Darby said, like, is what's his inspiration throughout all this Valhalla stuff. uh that's gonna happen. Yeah.
um, you're um, very known in the history for the history side of Assassin's Creed and the landmarks, so it'd be best to ask you instead of googling the Templar cross that everyone seems so fixated on. Isn't is more known for the red Templar cross during the Third Crusade, which is around about the time Assassin's Creed 1 took place. So even if there is a symbol of a cross in the old game in Valhalla, there surely couldn't be a connection to the Templars as they were, because this cross that they bear is something that was designed through the Crusade. Surely.
Yeah, truly, it's something that was designed for the Crusade. So, um, I feel like I feel like Assassin's Creed is just winking at us with that crest. Um, and I mean, it's no major biggie, but I did want to say, uh, like, um, there's there is the Cult of Mithras part of the story trailer. Are we going through that, or are we saving it for later?
Well, you just have to wait till we get on further in the episode, buddy. I can't spoil
Okay.
everything
Yeah,
too
yeah.
early.
I'll jump back into it. I'll transition into it.
Um, so I think the next major part, I think we could just clump into one, is State and Sail to England, New Horizons, and we're met with
Beautiful
Secret.
horizons.
It looks amazing. I live in England, and it is quite nice.
I'm envious.
And we see Sigurd's wife at the war table, and she basically gives an overview of England, many rulers, and shows the country in turmoil. But what's fascinating is she talks as if she knows this place. So I'm believing that Sigurd's wife isn't been at Sigurd's settlement in Norway. I think she's been to England because, judging by how much time it'll take to sail, if she sailed with Sigurd and Eivor at the same time, they wouldn't have had time to set up this big, massive war room and have all this information on every king of England. So maybe Sigurd's already started to make a settlement there, or his wife has.
Yeah. Uh, I believe so too. I came into this like realization today too. I'm like, oh god, like uh Randvi is like she must have been in England before Eivor was, and I feel like it's kind of the it's kind of the Ragnar Lothbrok kind of situation where Ragnar goes to England and then he's like, oh, we should make a settlement here. Goes back to Kattegat, come comes uh, comes back to England, and they make a settlement there. Um, full of life, and I feel like that's the situation because um when Sigurd is going to like he goes to visit Constantinople and stuff, I feel like he went to England and then he went to Constantinople and then he came back and he's like, all right, we're raiding England.
Where are we going from now? Are we raiding? Let's just raid. And the assassins seem way too pleased about them raiding England. I'll have to admit. It's like as if they want him to raid England.
Yeah, I mean, there is like a major kind of order of ancients threat over there, so uh two birds with one stone.
So maybe it's because they heard rumblings of the cult of Mithras.
Yeah, I think.
Maybe. Let's jump to that, my friend.
Ooh, let's jump to that. So, yeah, the Cult of Mithras. I did a major thread about them that Darby retweeted, and I uh I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. Darby, if you're listening to this, thank you so much. I've already said thank you a lot. I feel like it's annoying, but yeah, I just really appreciate you. And what I wanna uh like stress about the Cult of Mithras is that they were like the rivalry to Christianity uh back in the like back in the Roman times, but like from the first century to fourth century they were big, but then in the 4th century, they went down because of Christianity.
And maybe they've set up England, and maybe this is their chance to bring back that culture, but maybe the assassins have clicked on from sources that actually there's more to meets the eye, and maybe they're not actually strong enough as they are to investigate the team. So how do you investigate the team without just sending, some scapegoats? I think maybe they're using the assassins as scapegoats. Send them in, they do all the dirty work, they do all the uncovering, and then the assassins can use that backdrop to put a stop to whatever plans they're running.
Yeah, maybe. And uh like it that's highly likely because the the assassins like to work in the shadows, and to have the Vikings also, uncover this secret religion that's going around, um that's still going around in England, is very likely. And yeah, I mean, I feel like the cult of Mithras wouldn't be so um like favorited in these times because they're all Christians. So um they're they're kind of like the select few that do not believe in Christianity, I think.
And I think this would be a good time then to look at what Darby said in an interview, because it seems that so far we see tons of alliances and factions forming: the assassins, the possible cult, the other kings of England, and you would think that maybe they'd do something similar to Odyssey, where you'd have conquest battles, where maybe you could take out certain heads of the cult or kings and increase different formations. Maybe you could side more to the cult than to the assassins. Maybe go more Templar than assassin. But it turns out that it's not going to be like that. When someone in the latest interview, Darby replied to, "We've seen Eivor before that can build alliances with kings in various regions. Can alliances be formed with anyone or some people, no matter what?" Darby did say, "All alliances in Assassin's Creed Valhalla are governed by stories we tell, not by a game system. There is some variability in which alliances Eivor can make, but they are largely fixed by the stories we are telling. This is history after all." So maybe even if we have the cult in the game and we have the assassins, we have all the kings, maybe this is going to put Eivor in a predicament where he can't really side with anyone, but he has to side with someone, and it might lead to some really tense, jaw-dropping moments.
Yeah,
See,
I feel like that's gonna happen. uh like choosing sides is gonna happen, but this time around, unlike Odyssey, it's gonna matter because back in Odyssey, if you chose Spartan side or Athens side, it didn't matter. You can just go betray Athens um and go back with Sparta. But in this one, I feel like once you choose a side, that side is what's gonna help you, or uh or what's gonna uh decide your fate.
well, when I read your thread for the cult, I was very concerned with a rumor that tied into your cult, where there was a long-winded rumor before Valhalla dropped that Ava could become a Templar. And when Darby and everyone started showing information and came up with the idea that there's going to be alliances, it got me concerned that if it was like Odyssey, does that mean I can make Ava a Templar myself, but then do all the assassin stuff or do all the kings and stuff, but then at the end it's not going to matter if I was a Templar? But to see that actually, no, this is going to be governed by stories, it could mean that maybe the assassins betray you, or maybe you realize that assassins and Templars are no different to each other, and Eivor stops both of them. I think that'd be an amazing twist.
Yeah, I mean, there is talk of multiple endings. So I like here's a very amateur way of thinking about it. You either help assassins, help Templars, or you don't help uh any of them, and you just look at your own self interest, and you know you screw both of them apart.
Well, you touched on multiple endings there, and this has been asked already to Darby, and his response was, to fully answer this question will spoil some surprises we haven't stopped for players, but I will say there are multiple fascinating pathways for our epic tale, a story modelled after the Norse sagas of old, in which men and women fought against fate, eager to forge their own paths, yet always failing time and time again. Now, I think you've got to read between the lines here, because he's not saying anything, but, sorry, he says fascinating pathways. He doesn't say there's going to be an ending, it says pathways. So I'm led to believe that, unlike Odyssey, where there's choices that may not impact the end, and you've got the three different endings, I think there may be one linear ending for the entire game, but how we get to that linear ending is our own choice, if that makes sense. So maybe there won't be
Yeah,
a multiple ending, but maybe there'll be multiple ways to get to an ending, which would work very canonically in the Assassin's Creed lore.
I I just want them. This is what I want. The final decision. I just want them to put like canon, uh, like in parentheses, canon. So we go with that and see what happens instead of we go with our own instincts, because AC fans were there for the lore and for the history of it, but like we care about the lore, and we don't want to read the novel. I mean, I'll read the novel. It's just I don't want the canon to be in a novel this time.
I agree, and I think reading between the lines a lot through this interview, it does stand out that he does say, going back to the build alliances, he does say bluntly, this is history after all. So I'm led to believe that if his stand on the alliance system is this is history, we won't get multiple endings. Major characters that would live or die, spoiler, like the head of the cult of Cosmos, could live or die, broke history because she lives. Canonically, she will always live till a certain point in time. So maybe Darby is going down the route that this is history. Certain characters that you say live or die may not truly impact the story in certain ways. I know there's um, I've seen some gameplay where one of the kings you save in the demo fights the person you beat as the boss, and you'd expect him to be killed, but he wins the fight. So it just kind of shows that they're not going with the idea of one choice the king dies, one choice the king lives. They're going down the choice of actually this king lived, he'll always live. We're going to make sure it stays that way.
I mean, yeah, and you can thank history for that, because like if a king is written to live until said age, or set year, you gotta pay close attention to that and not just harm him, because like if you know history and you choose to let Oswald fight, he will stay alive.
Which makes a lot. And I think this could mean that one or two things. My idea of a perfect choice-based Assassin's Creed is coming to light, where we have a linear ending, certain historical aspects will stay concrete, but there'll be multiple pathways to get to where we're going, but it will stay grounded in history. Or we're all reading into it too much.
Yeah, I mean, um, the story trailer showed us, you know, it didn't spoil anything. I mean, aside from Sigurd potentially being a backstabber, but um, it it showed us enough that we are good right now. I just want to see more assassin material. Maybe, maybe like uh we see like the bureau, because we saw a little bit of like the assassin flag over there, like the assassin banner, and I'm like, so are we gonna go to like the headquarters, um or not, like uh or is that just hype?
I think there's some tricks up its sleeve, but I think they're going to honor it as much as possible. And I'm excited for what they bring, and it's going to be a big one. I think it's going to be one of the best games they've done for a while, I believe. And I think
Yeah, I mean, we have we have the assassin symbol back finally, after like Odyssey lacked it. I'm like, oh, it's so good to see you, assassin insignia.
um so I have one last thing to discuss, and it's a concern of mine in um what's it called? In Odyssey, sorry, I forgot the name. Is Eivor herself. If Eivor is doing multiple choices, how do they make that so it's everyone gets it? You know, how is everyone going to have an Eivor that's funny, charisma, honourable if everyone makes choices? And Darby said that Eivor is a fixed character, constant personality. We want everyone to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla to come over with the same sense of this character is and what motivates them. However, players will have many opportunities to shape the outcome of scenes and stories based on how they direct Eivor to respond in conversation. For example, if a man challenges Eivor to an alehouse brawl, Eivor can shrug it off with a charismatic wink, buy them on a round of drinks and forget about it, or accept the challenge and brawl. All these choices are consistent with Eivor's personality depending on the situation. And I think that has to be one of the biggest improvements for Assassin's Creed since Odyssey.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like,
By the way, I would definitely choose to fight that man in like a brawl. You know, because Viking.
but I just really like the idea of if you give that choice to Cassandra and she could choose to walk it off a brawl, and then you've got the other choices where she sacrifices an entire family or she does more doing quest. You don't get that same sense of, well, which one makes her her. Whereas this one's saying, well, if Eivor is chilling in a bar and she buys a drink, and as she's walking out, someone bumps into her, we know that Eivor is going to be charismatic about it, probably like, hi, it's fine, have another drink. Or she's going to have a temper and she's just going to probably go, you know what, let's settle this, I'll beat you up. And I think that's fantastic because everyone's able is going to be the same, even if they choose different paths in a quest.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, I love it when um both options show charisma. You know, uh, like, I'll buy you a drink, or we can settle this uh like uh well, Ivor is both male and female. We can settle this the common way, and uh brawl, and the victor wins. you know uh and I feel like for Ivor's personality, that's like perfect, because both options are really fitting.
I'm just kind of curious because I know I could do it with Cassandra, and I don't know if I can do it with Eivor. But with Cassandra, I was able to pick a lot of stuff that reminds me of me. Like I'm charismatic, I'm helpful, so a lot of her choices were like what I would do. So I'm wondering if I could do the same approach with Eivor, even if she has a set personality. Because if someone buys me, bumps into me in a pub, I'm not a fighter. I'll just buy you a drink. We'll call it quits. Sit down. But I hope to see more of them sort of things. I want to go the peaceful approach. I don't want to fight everyone unless they're asking for it.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
honourable.
I like Cassandra. It's just like like the story choices were just like um like especially the ending of it, like when you're facing off against Aspasia, you're given the romance option. I'm like, why am I given the romance option here?
That confused me.
The this is my this is my enemy. you know
Well, the enemy of my
yeah,
enemy
it
is
was.
also my friend.
Yeah, like she's responsible for like so many killings. Why am I gonna romance her? Like Cassandra is not a bad person.
Well, we'll have to see how that changes in Valhalla. And I'm sad to say, I think that's all we've got time for tonight. There is a lot more to
Yeah.
dive in. And
But by the way, before we end, which one? What was your favorite part of the trailer?
um, surprisingly, the only thing I was really interested about was the world. Just to see more of the world. Because when I watch these gameplay trailers, I'm not focusing on the characters or the combat. Because I want to feel them myself. I want to feel what it's like to talk to Basim. I want to see what he's like in game, and I want to feel how heavy the weapons are. So when I watch the trailers, I'm looking out for the world, little details that I might be able to pick up on, like maybe in the very corner you could see an assassin flag. I know we see one in broad daylight, but you know, little things that people may have missed if they've just watched for the combat and the storage stuff. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, awesome thing. Like I love I love the fact that they showed England more, and it's very lively, and it has like a diverse uh it has diverse locations, and uh yeah, I mean, for like a historian like me, showing the characters and the environments around was like so awesome.
I
That's
think
my
it's
favorite part of it.
I think as well, if you watch the trailers and you don't focus on what's going on, you focus at the world around it, you'll see some pretty interesting details. Like in one of the very old trailers, I found it on a Jaraptor's YouTube. You see Eivor doing social stealth, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, social stealth, so cool." But what you don't really notice is in the bottom corner, when Eivor walks past a beggar, she actually has the option to offer money to the beggar, which then kind of get you thinking, if you're offering money to a beggar, does that mean you could probably bribe the beggar to cause a distraction, which would be a new form of social stealth? But they don't
Oh,
really,
nice.
but they don't talk about it. They just show Ava saying social stealth. She's in a crowd, but in the bottom right corner, you can definitely see the option to pay the beggar. So that's the sort of thing that I think is really cool for people to look out for. So if you rewatch the trailer, guys, try and look at the world, see if there's any interesting aspects people may not have noticed. Maybe look at some of the world design. Maybe you'll see like a castle in distance that looks familiar from textbooks. That maybe could be an important standpoint. If you look for stuff like that, you may be able to find some little Easter eggs in the trailers that'll tell stories for the game. Sadly, that is all we do have time for tonight. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, then don't forget to check out at Created Landmarks for all these amazing historical threads. Come check out me on my normal Twitter. I think I've talked about it a lot now, so but also if you want to hear this episode, and more episodes 3 days early, then please be sure to check out Patreon. I release an episode every Thursday and then re-release it on Saturday for everyone else. So get a good 3 days to have early access and sneak peek at other episodes to come, which
Awesome.
is kind of cool. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time.
All right, see you guys. See you, assassins.